all of this is coming against the backdrop of what is being described as a potential third wave at the moment. Remember, the country is barely out of the second wave of the killer coronavirus. With the threat of the third wave looming large, the mutant variant Delta Plus is already being viewed as a variant of concern. It's now claimed 2 lives apart from infecting 52 in the country. The first death reported today from Maharashtra's Ratnagiri. The previous one was in Madhya Pradesh. Naturally, as a result, the Maharashtra government, it appears, doesn't want to take chances. It's our top story tonight.
India records another death due to Delta Plus. An 80-year-old lost his life after fighting this variant of concern in Ratnagiri. The other 20 infected with the new mutant virus are safe, according to the government.
उसको कई व्याधि या कई कोमॉर्बिडिटी थी कि जिसके और एज भी था कि जिसके वजह से उनकी मृत्यु हुई है। जो बचे हुए 20 है वो 20 के 20 बिल्कुल दुरुस्त होके अपने घर गए हैं। इसीलिए डेल्टा प्लस वेरिएंट को कोई बहुत अभी इमीडिएटली डरने वाली बात नहीं है।
Maharashtra has the maximum number of Delta Plus cases with 21 cases detected so far. Of these, 9 are from Ratnagiri, 7 from Jalgaon, 2 from Mumbai and 1 each from Palghar, Sindhudurg and Thane. The state is taking no chances. The administration has declared 6 villages in Ratnagiri and Jalgaon districts as restricted. 6,000 RT-PCR tests have been conducted in these villages so far.
जो हमने एक राज्य शासन ने स्वास्थ्य विभाग ने जो एक प्रोजेक्ट हाथ में लिया है कि जिसमें हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में हम 100 लोगों की सैंपल्स की जीनोमिक सीक्वेंसिंग, होल जीनोमिक सीक्वेंसिंग कर रहे हैं। अभी परिस्थिति बिल्कुल काबू में है।
The State Health Department has predicted a third wave in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray this week held a meeting with collectors of the affected districts. From now, each district will have separate plans, and local administration will decide on restrictions based on the actual caseload. Total unlock will not happen in a hurry.
Though most of the Delta Plus patients were asymptomatic and have been cured, but still the government machinery is not keeping any stones unturned. All of the containment zones are in place and unnecessary movement has been restricted so that there is no spread of this variant. As a matter of fact, WHO has termed it as a variant of concern. With cameraman Gopal Harne, this is Pankaj Khelkar in Pune for India Today.
Let's go straight across to Dr. Om Shrivastava, member of the Maharashtra COVID Task Force. Appreciate your joining us, Dr. Shrivastava. Want to understand from you, it appears that the Maharashtra government doesn't want to take any chances after the first few cases of Delta Plus variant have been reported. Is this a case of sounding the alarm too early or learning from the past mistakes?
Thank you for having me on your show first up. I think it's a bit of both. I think rather than sounding the alarm, it is probably being a little cautious rather than simply going, okay, fine, there may not be anything to get worried about. We know from past experience that these things have a way of being an unpleasant surprise well and truly before you know it. And that before you have another unpleasant surprise, it's probably very, very good as an idea to be watchful, to wait and see where this is heading before you say there is nothing to get worried about. So I don't think this is sounding the alarm prematurely, but I do think that we don't have all the information, and all the information coming our way might take another, who knows, maybe a month, maybe a couple of months, maybe a little bit longer. So I think there is some wisdom in waiting and watching, seeing what the genomic sequences look like, what the clinical presentations look like, what is the public health impact of this kind of a variant, how many districts are affected, what is the burden of this kind of a variant on a number of parts of various districts, various geographical areas, before you can say that it is safe to unlock, it is safe to get rid of the restrictions.
So, but that could take a very long time. As you said, the genome sequencing is going on at the moment. It could take anything from 10 days to a month by the time we have any conclusive evidence of the impact of Delta plus variant and how it is spreading. Can states like Maharashtra afford now an extended lockdown that stretches possibly till the end of July, even early August?
Indeed. It's a very, very important question you're asking, Rajdeep. I think that rather than, again, I'm going to go back to the point I was making, rather than jump into some kind of a process that you will find very difficult to reverse or re-put as a locking mechanism, it is probably more judicious to wait for a little while. I think it can work in a way where you keep all the players into confidence, and only when it is safe that you go through the process of unlocking. We have seen what we have done with the unlocking at an earlier stage, and that what is the consequence of an uncontrolled human reaction, what kind of price was paid by the general public. I don't think that anybody is prepared for that. And my own feeling is that it might be better to be erring on the side of caution, waiting for a little bit longer before you say it is safe for all such unlocking mechanisms to be completely into place.
Because at the moment, most of these cases are being reported from districts which were not as affected by Delta, the original Delta variant. That's the interesting part. The original Delta variant that spread such havoc across the country in the months of March, April, May, in a sense emanated from Vidarbha. But there are no Delta plus cases as of now being reported from Vidarbha. Instead, it's Ratnagiri, Jalgaon, where we are getting these cases reported. The first death has been reported from Ratnagiri. Is there a pattern that what happens in Maharashtra seems to spread to other states? Is that also the reason for this concern? Because Maharashtra has been so badly affected, been the epicenter in a sense of COVID in the early parts of both Delta plus and the first variant. Is that the reason why you all are being extra cautious?
Quite true. I think that there is something to be said in terms of how you are going to be mapping, which areas, which geographical areas are going to be affected. Of course, there is just no way of predicting as to what happened. If you look at the patterns of the first wave, what was the pattern of Maharashtra, and when it went to Rajasthan or New Delhi or elsewhere in the country, it is very different. It was very different also at the beginning of the second wave. So I don't think that anybody, howsoever brave he or she may be, would like to venture a guess as to which is the geographical area that is going to be affected after this particular area. But it still makes a lot of sense to be careful about unlocking, irrespective of which geographical area you're dealing with.
I take your point. One final question. The fears, of course, is that this Delta plus variant mimics the South African variant, which bypassed antibodies, vaccinations, including AstraZeneca, were not working for it. Is that one of the fears, that this particular variant, Delta plus, may bypass vaccines? Is that too early to say? Many other virologists I've spoken to seem to suggest that it's premature to make any such comments at this stage. Would the Maharashtra government continue to push with vaccinations as the only antidote?
So, three parts to your question. One is that whether it is bypassing parts of the process after a patient has been infected, but that is the big concern, isn't it? As to what happens with the spike proteins, what happens with the antigen and the presenting cells, and what is it going to do when it is face-to-face with a variant of the virus or the vaccine that is being given. So we don't know. We don't know anything about this part. We don't know enough to make a comment that this is what is going to happen in this particular variant. That is one. The second is whether or not the vaccine is going to work. If there is from here, do remember that we know that the virus will have one genomic mutation every 11 days. Now that may be a minor mutation, that may be a major mutation. How it is going to present itself after a mutation, nobody knows that either. If it's a minor mutation, well, it's not going to impact. If it's a major mutation, what is it going to do? Is it going to be like a Delta variant? We don't know that again. So that's going to be the second part. And the third part is how badly is it going to impact on the total numbers that we see? answer is, I don't think anybody knows that as well. So it would still be a very premature kind of situation to hazard a guess and say, oh, look,
Okay.
this is how it's going to behave. It's probably best to be, surer rather than being very brave in unlocking or talking about what should be done from here.
Okay.
Certainly, the answer to your question is in the last part of your question as well, Rajdeep. Vaccination remains our only and our surest bet from here onwards. We must vaccinate as copiously as we can, as quickly as we can, and to as many people as we can.
Okay, Dr. Shrivastava, you've given us a sense of the need for caution, and therefore, at the moment, Maharashtra has decided to veer to the side of caution by continuing with the various restrictions. Thanks very much for joining me here.